Beast Mastery Hunters are masters of the animal kingdom and some fantasy ones as well. So let's have a look how we're going to actually succeed as a Beast Mastery Hunter in Season 1 of The War Within. I'm going to start off with the stat priority, and I do want to say this is going to be very beginner friendly while also giving you enough depth to completely cover you off and hit the ground running if you are a veteran at playing WoW or this spec. So our main stat is agility. How do we get more agility? A higher and higher item level of gear. This here is the stat priority for the secondary stats. However, you should only really be actually comparing these if you're looking at two items of the same eye level. Always go for a higher and higher eye level. That's always generally going to be better. So agility increases the damage of our attacks, of course. Looking at the secondary stats, we've got versatility will increase damage and healing done, and also reduce damage taken. Haste is going to increase your attack speed and your focus regeneration, which is your main resource that we're going to spend to deal our attacks and spells. Mastery is very unique. Master of Beasts is what we have as a Beast Mastery Hunter, and it's going to increase the damage done by your pets. So the more mastery, the more damage your pets do. Critical Strike, giving you a higher chance to do more damage. Looking quickly then at the set bonus, the tier set that we're getting this season in The War Within, it's the Lightless Scavenger's Necessities. Our 2 set bonus, when we get 2 pieces of this set, Barbed Shot further increases your pet's attack speed by 5%. So when we use Barbed Shot, it's making our pets attack even quicker, and your pet's attacks have a 10% chance to increase all pet damage you deal by 10% for 10 seconds. It's very, very simple on that. If you don't know Barbed Shot or any of the other abilities, I will be covering them fully and explaining when to use them and what we're going to be using shortly in this video. So now we're going to look through some of the utilities and defensives and things like that we have available to us as a hunter in The War Within. So I do want to just say, if you are a beginner watching, don't worry, I'm not going to show you every single spell. These are the ones that I think are really, really important that you should be aware of and using. There are, of course, other niche spells. And maybe if you are a beginner, when you're more comfortable with your rotation and how the build works, maybe just have a look through your spellbook and your talents on the hunter side on the left and just see what else you have available. But I don't think it's good to overwhelm yourself if you are. So, first up on the left, these are things that we're more doing to our enemies, and on the right is more things that are going to actually help us and our allies. So starting on the left then, we've got Freezing Trap. You can see that you can place this wherever you like, and you're going to fling it over there like that. Hurling a Frost Trap at the target location, and it's going to incapacitate the first enemy that touches it. You know, it's a trap. And this is going to actually last for an entire minute. So they're stuck there now for an entire minute, unless you do damage to them, at which point that is then going to stop the trap. We then have Counter Shot, and this is quite literally on a 24-second cooldown, our interrupt or kick. If you hear people using the word kick, it just means it's their interrupt. This is how we're going to interrupt our enemy's spellcasting, and that is really important to do. Beginners and veterans alike often overlook the importance of interrupting your enemy's spellcasting. And in Mythic Plus especially, and PvP, this is really, really important that you do this pretty much whenever you can. Sorry if you can hear that car alarm that's just started going off outside my house. And it's really, really important that you do that. We then have Concussive Shot, and this is actually going to slow your target for 50% for 6 seconds. Then we have Misdirection. This is a really interesting one. I actually love Misdirection. This is actually going to misdirect any threat that you cause to an ally. So I wonder if I can do it to a random person. No, they have to be in my group. Okay. Basically, I can click on an ally and I can be like, boom, I'm going to misdirect my threat to you. So when I'm attacking the enemy, if I'm doing loads of damage, like on pull, the threat will actually, the enemy will start attacking that other person because I'm directing my kind of aggression to that person rather than me. And then let's say you have accidentally got threat off an enemy and it's attacking you and not the person you want, or you've pulled an enemy that you didn't mean to and you've gone into combat. Well, we can actually use Feign Death. And this literally is where you play dead on the ground like this, and it will last up to 6 minutes. And it will take you out of combat, generally, and enemies will just ignore you. It is fantastic. It's one of the best abilities in the game, honestly. So, going on to the right-hand side, we've got Primal Rage. This is Bloodlust, or Heroism, as it's otherwise known. And you can see here, you've got a 10-minute cooldown, fatigued, cannot benefit from Primal Rage or other similar effects. So if you have a Evoker, a Shaman, a Mage, for example, in your group, they will not be able to use their Bloodlust, their Time Warp, or Fear of the Aspects. It is a shared cooldown, but this is your Bloodlust. If you don't know what Bloodlust is, or Heroism, it increases the haste by 30% for all party and raid members for 40 seconds, which is massive. It's generally known as the biggest cooldown in the game. We've then got some defensives here. Survival of the Fittest, reducing all damage you and your pet take by 30% for 6 seconds. It's actually got 2 charges. We've got Camouflage. You and your pet blend into the surroundings and gain stealth for an entire minute. While camouflaged, you're going to heal 2% of your maximum health every 1 second. And lastly, we've got Hunter's Mark. You can put this on before you go into combat, and you should always be doing this. It's actually going to increase the damage done to that target by 20% when they're over 80% health, and that's going to be for in the entire party and raid, not you, which is a phenomenal way to actually add damage for your entire group going into combat. And that is it for Hunters. Like I said, there's a lot of other ones. You've got, like, down here, Eyes of the Beast. You've got Eagle Eye. You know, there's so many utilities that we do have available to us as a Hunter. Scattershot, Scare Beast, Tar Trap, you know, the list goes on. But again, these are the ones that I think are the really core and important ones going into the War Within that you should know. Now let's actually have a look at how the rotation and the spells that we have available come together to actually use in PvP. So we're going to start off with this top bar, which is the main rotation. Hunters use Focus. We can have 2 pets as a Beast Mastery Hunter. And from our hero talents, Dark Ranger, which I will be going through with you in full, we get this new ability called Black Arrow. Fire a black arrow into your target, dealing shadow damage, and each time it deals damage, you have a chance to generate a charge of barbed shot. Barbed shot is this one here. Fire a shot that tears through your enemy, causing them to bleed, and increasing your critical strike chance by 2% for 10 seconds, stacking 3 times. It also sends your pets into a frenzy, increasing their attack speed by 35% for 10 seconds, and that can stack 3 times too. It also generates some focus for you over 8 seconds, which is our main resource. Now, the actual buff, as you can see here on my pet, is where it is. If you're looking for the actual pet buff of their attack speed, it is on your pet. You want to keep that up at all times, pretty much. So use Black Arrow whenever it's available. Keep up your barbed shot frenzy stacks on your pet. If you're about to reach 2 charges, use your kill command. And then, apart from that, use your Dire Beast on cooldown as well. So kill command commands your pet to kill, dealing a lot of damage, and Dire Beast is actually going to summon other beasts for you, attacking the target and increasing your haste. Whenever it's available, use your kill shot, attempting to finish off your target. It's available below 25% health and does a lot of damage. And then I've put kill command on here again. So here, it's whenever it's capping out at 2 stacks, and here is just any remaining stacks. So it's kind of a priority list, which often we don't actually follow that closely in PvP, but for BM Hunter, we do. Again, using any other remaining barbed shot charges, Dire Beast again, and then Cobra Shot. Pretty much just following this rotation is the general damage we're going to be using as a BM Hunter. We've got some really great cooldowns. Number 1 is Bestial Wrath, sending you and your pet into a rage, dealing damage and increasing all damage you both deal, and removing all crowd control effects from your pet. Bestial Wrath's remaining cooldown is reduced every time you then use Barbed Shot. You can see the cooldown there massively reducing when I use it. So you can use Bestial Wrath a lot more than it would first seem. We, of course, have Primal Rage, which is Bloodlust. Use this when you and your allies are going to go into your burst phase, increasing haste by 30% for 40 seconds. Some defensives here. Exhilaration, healing you and your pet for 100%, healing you for 30% of your health and your pet for all of their health. Every 10 focus you spend reduces that cooldown by a second, and it heals you for an additional amount over 8 seconds. So really good as a defensive there. Survival of the Fittest also reduces any damage you take. And then we've got Aspect of the Turtle, deflecting attacks and reducing damage you take again, but you cannot attack. If your enemy goes into like to burst and you're trying to get out of there, what I would do is maybe use Aspect of the Turtle. You could disengage out if they're melee, getting away from them, and that could completely ruin their burst phase on you, for example. We've got Aspect of the Cheetah, also massively increasing your movement speed by 90% for 3 seconds and then 30% for 9 seconds, again, helping you get away from the enemy if they're bursting on you, or if you are the kill target. How are we then going to get around our enemy? Well, we've got Freezing Trap that we can throw. That is going to incapacitate the target. We have Intimidation, commanding your pet to actually stun the target for 5 seconds. We've got Blinding Shot, which I love, as you can see here, firing that projectile. Tethering an enemy and other enemies in 5 yards, stunning them for 3 seconds if they move more than 5 yards from the arrow. And you can see there is the purple tether. Targets stunned by Binding Shot also deal less damage as well. So it's a double whammy on that one. We have Camouflage on a minute cooldown. However, you can only use it out of combat. You and your pet blend into surroundings and gain stealth for a minute. While camouflaged, you will heal for some of your maximum health. You can use this when the gates open and go into, stealth quickly. That can be useful. And if your enemy is in stealth, well, we have this flare here. As you can see, it flares up this entire area and exposes anyone that is invisible, like a rogue maybe, in that area. Disengage, we've already spoken about. Hunter's Mark, you want to put on the target that you're all going in on. Applying a Hunter's Mark to the target, and they can always be seen and tracked by the hunter. Again, very useful against people like a rogue. It's also going to increase damage dealt to that target as well, but can only be applied to one target. We've got Tranquilizing Shot, removing an enrage and magic effects from the enemy. We've got Counter Shot, which is simply an interrupt, and Tar Shot, which we can throw as well. Hurling a trap, and the first enemy that approaches it will have reduced movement speed. It's like they're stuck in that tar. And that is all the utility we have at our disposal for PvP. So you've got your main rotation, use your Bestial Wrath, your Primal Rage when you want to go into, burst, and then all your slows, etc. here. For your PvP talents, before we get into the hero talents, there's Kindred Beasts. Command pet's unique ability cooldown is reduced and gains additional effect, like Ferocity, which is, by the way, you likely are going to want a Ferocity pet. That's what I go with, at least. That is how you get your Bloodlust cooldown. Increases haste by 12% for 20 seconds, but no longer applies Satiated. So it kind of reduces the effect of your Bloodlust. However, you can use it as much as you like on its cooldown rather than having to wait 10 minutes. We've also got Chimeral Sting here, a new ability. Stings a target, dealing nature damage and initiating a series of venoms. Scorpid Venom reduces their movement speed by 90%. Spider Venom will silence them, and Viper Venom will reduce damage and healing. This is absolutely insane, and it's one of the best abilities we have as a BM hunter. It does damage to them and initiates a series of those venoms. Each lasts 3 seconds and applies the next one after. So it literally goes Scorpid, Spider, and then Viper, meaning you get all 3 effects when you use this on a 1 minute cooldown. Another one that could be really interesting is Diamond Ice. Your Freezing Trap can no longer be damaged or healed, so the target that is in it. So you can't damage them, but they also cannot be healed. And it lasts 5 seconds, but is completely undispellable. You could put an enemy healer out of action for this, for example, or someone that's trying to burst you, etc. This can be really, really useful. So in this Beast Mastery build, we are going with the Dark Ranger hero talents. Now, this is all included already into the rotation I have shown you, of course, but this is the why around the what on the rotation we are doing. It starts off with getting Black Arrow. Fire a Black Arrow into your target, dealing shadow damage over 18 seconds. Each time Black Arrow deals damage, you have a chance to generate a charge of Barbed Shot, which is pretty nice. Going down the left side first, we've got Overshadow. Barbed Shot and Kill Command deal more damage. Then we've got a first option, Dark Empowerment. When Black Arrow resets the cooldown of an ability, you gain some focus. Or you can say when a target affected by Black Arrow dies, the cooldown of Black Arrow is reduced. That's obviously quite situation dependent. If it's a single target, we don't really care about Grave Reaper. And we would go with Dark Empowerment, for example. Shadow Lash. When Call of the Wild is active, Black Arrow deals damage faster. Woohoo for us. Shadow Hounds. Each time Black Arrow deals damage, you have a 10% chance to manifest a Dark Hound to charge to your target and deal shadow damage. I really like this, especially for beast mastery, because we're summoning more beasts. Another option here, you heal for 15% of all shadow damage dealt by you or your pets, which is a good passive healing, but I quite like Smokescreen. Exhilaration grants you 3 seconds of survival of the fittest, which activates Exhilaration at 50% effectiveness. Then we have Shadow Surge. When multi-shot hits a target affected by Black Arrow, a burst of shadow energy erupts, dealing moderate shadow damage to all enemies near the target, which is really good for multi-target. Can only happen every 6 seconds, however. Death Shade. When you apply Black Arrow to a target, you gain Hunter's Prey. Dark Chains. Disengage will chain the closest target to the ground, causing them to move slower until they move 8 yards away. This is insane for disengaging. It makes disengage so much better. And honestly, if I was like an enemy of you with Dark Chains, oh my god, that is like so annoying, and I love it. Then we have Darkness Calls or Shadow Erasure. Darkness Calls, all shadow damage that you and your pet deal is increased. Or Shadow Erasure, Kill Shot has a 15% chance to generate a charge of Barbed Shot when used on a target that is affected by your Black Arrow. And lastly, Withering Fire. When Black Arrow resets the cooldown of Barbed Shot, a barrage of dark arrows will strike your target for the shadow damage and increase the damage you and your pet deal by 10% for 6 seconds, which is really cool as well. So it's all quite passive, apart from actually gaining Black Arrow, of course. But I don't think it makes the rotation too much more complex. I think it just enhances it, which is the idea of hero talents. I really do like the Dark Ranger hero talents that we are taking. Finally, we're going to look at the consumables and enchants, etc. that we're using. So in the War Within, a few things have changed. Nerubian Gem Weavers. These are the new things you get in the weekly vault that you can add sockets to your gear with. So you're going to get them on the head, the wrist, and the waist, or at least that's where you can use them, should I say. You'll also notice these magnificent jeweler's settings. Basically, you can now add 2 sockets to your neck and 2 to each ring, rather than just adding 3 sockets to a neck. So 2 on the neck, 2 on the ring, 2 on the ring. Chant of Winged Grace gives avoidance and takes away some fall damage on your cloak. On your chest is Crystalline Radiance, giving you, primary stat, Chant of Armored Avoidance gives you some avoidance. Going to put an armor kit on our legs. Defender's March or Scout's March. It's up to you which one you go for here. I like Scout's March as it gives speed, so you can get around quicker and a bit more mobility. Critical Strike is generally the best enchant for the rings, but if you are simulating, do be careful to check which is the best secondary stat for you, and the Authority of Radiant Power is going to be on your weapon enchant. Basically, dealing damage has a chance to smite your enemy with radiant power and then also massively increase your primary stat as well. And that is what that weapon enchant will do. Then looking at the actual consumables, I would just say to go for the Flask of Tempered Versatility, because it's a very general flask like we did in Dragonflight. Same in the War Within. You can just use that to get more versatility. Feast of the Divine Day, pretty obvious on why we're using a feast. Tempered Potion, this is really interesting. This is actually going to increase all your other secondary stats that you're not using on your flask. Algari Healing Potion is the healing potion for the War Within. Algari Mana Oil, again, adding haste and crit, I think it is, off the top of my head. I filmed so many of these. I'm like, is that what it is? It is, on the Mana Oil for your weapon. And if you are using an Augment rune, these are called Crystallized Augment runes. This just gives you a bit more primary stat, but are generally very expensive. And then Sockets, Culminating Blasphemite. Basically, it adds primary stat, and it's also going to add 0.15% critical effect, not chance, but effect, per color gem you have. So if you're using a ruby, an onyx, a sapphire, and an emerald, it's 4 times 15, so you're going to get 0.60%, so 0.660, not 60%, 0.60% increased critical effect. If you're only using rubies, you're only going to get 0.15%. Hopefully that makes sense. Once you've used one of each color, feel free to go ham, depending on what you need for your character, if you're simming, etc., or based off the stat priority I showed earlier, depending if you're a beginner or not, for the rest of the gems. But on your first 4 gem sockets, do try and get one of each color for your Culminating Blasphemite. Thank you so much for watching this guide. I hope it was really useful for you in The War Within Season 1, whether it was for Mythic Plus or raiding. If you do have any questions, I'll be happy to help. My Patreon is in the description below, and that is where you can find my LVUI profiles, which I'll show you in a second. And also, I'm putting together a huge macro list for every single spec that's going to be really useful for you in The War Within as well. I am doing all classes and specs for The War Within, so if you are new to the channel, then please do click this playlist here to check out what else I have, which is all of them. There will also be PvP guides on this channel as well for War Within Season 1, so make sure to look out for that. This here is the UI that I was referring to. As you can see, we've got target frames, etc., left and right, and raid frames go in the middle here, and then weak auras in the middle with an action bar down here. Chat is behind where my camera is. Minimap and details, etc., are here on the right. All of the plater profiles, the voodoo, the LVUI, etc., details profile has all been made by me. And again, you can get this on my Patreon should you like it.